All right then, good morning. My name is Dr. Stewart. I am a full-time faculty member at Camden County College, and I have been for a very long time. I think this is my 25th year at CCC. So gray hair withstanding, right? So I started when I was in late 20s, and I'm still here. This will be since spring of last year, spring of 2020, that we're doing this course completely online. I will say that we have added a lab kit. So those of you that did not have a lab kit in any of your previous classes, which I hope most of you did, because hopefully you've taken chem and hopefully you've taken BIO1, because that's a prerequisite for this course. But we do have a lab kit, and the lab kit distribution is a little different than the one for BIO1. What happens this time is later today, I will be sending you a code, a redemption code or the voucher code, and then you will go directly to Carolina Biological Supply Company, enter that code, and they will ship the kit right to your house. Now, the trick is, please ship it to your house or someplace where you have access to a refrigerator, because some of the components of the kit do need to be refrigerated. The bacterial cultures, some of the meat, I would put all the media in the refrigerator, especially now that it's getting warm. I heard that this weekend it's supposed to be maybe go up to 90. Those kits are not going to be good to use if you leave them sitting on the porch in the sun, or if you leave them just sitting in your house and it gets really hot. So parts of the kit do need to be refrigerated. And I can go over which specific parts a little bit later in the video, or I'll put them on the list for the kit. I think it changed a little bit from winter time to spring. Some of the things needed to be refrigerated that weren't refrigerated on the refrigerate list in the winter. Okay, so that aside, so those mechanics, you have first day, so you should be able to access your textbook as of today. My understanding is, if I give you a share screen here. Okay, so my understanding is if you guys click on the first day course materials, that's going to give you a code, and then you're going to click on MH Connect, or you're going to follow the directions in the first day course materials and enter that code. You'll need to enter an email address and a password the first time. If you already have a Connect account, I think they just allow you to add this course. You'll be looking for the book, the microbiology book that looks like this with the dark background and the yellow bacteria on it. You'll just want to click on that to add it, and then you'll be able to add it. The Connect first day has been working really well, so you should not have any problem. You should be able to see the textbook, the ebook, as well as the assignments. Once you log in for the first time, I think, like I said, giving them your email address and setting up a password, from then on, you can just click on the assignment and it will go right to the assignment. So your first day course materials page will look something like this. Mine's a little different because I'm the instructor and mine does not look exactly like yours, but it'll look like this, and inclusive access. And I think actually for Connect, I think maybe for McGraw-Hill, you don't have to do anything, right? It looks like it's already in here and doesn't say anything about getting a code. Okay, the courseware is delivered. So then my understanding is you're just going to click on, you can just go ahead and click on the module. And if you click on the first assignment, this one where it says homework in Connect, I believe it's going to take you directly to, you're going to say launch, and it's going to take you directly into the McGraw-Hill site. Oh, look, some of you have already started this and one of you has already submitted it. So yours will go to the assignment, mine goes to the reports, right? Because they think that's what I want to know as the instructor. Okay, great. So that was the first thing I want to tell you. Remind you that for the labs, you'll see in this first module that how to redeem your voucher and order your lab kit. So I will be sending you via email your individual codes. You can just please copy and paste those in. Don't retype them in case you make a mistake. I receive them on an Excel spreadsheet from the bookstore. Occasionally I copy the same code twice. So if your code doesn't work, just let me know. I probably made the mistake. You're just going to go to Carolina, follow these directions, put the code in and they're going to say, where do you want us to ship it? And they're going to ship it right to your house. The kit is good. I like it a lot more than the BIO1 kit in that, let's see if I can just minimize this. Guess not. Doesn't want to share, sorry. In that you're going to get a very small microscope. My first microscope, my first lab, that comes with, I think you have to put your own battery in it. So you're going to need a little screwdriver to put the battery in. But we do some microscope labs, and then we actually grow some bacteria and do some biochemical testing on the bacteria and some staining that then you can look at with your little microscope. So we have two major lab reports. Lab 1 is all about microscopy. Lab 2 is the rest of the kit, the labs that are in the kit. The bacteria, once you start to grow them, you need to maintain their growth, and they're going to grow quickly now because it's warm. I recommend we start those maybe like about week 4 of the semester. All right, so some brief things about Canvas, which I'm sure most of you already know these things, but as a reminder, so how I set up my courses is that everything is in the module. You'll notice over here that you do not have access to a syllabus, to the, I think you can look at the calendar, but I keep the syllabus out of the course. I want you to use the modules. So if you come to module 1, these are the things that you need to complete. You can see the due dates here. And module 2, our first exam, the lecture quizzes are always at the bottom of the module. There was the last thing. You'll notice that they're a rocket, right? That's a quiz. It could be a lecture quiz, lab safety quiz for the microscope labs. And the first actual rocket, I believe, is here, is the course agreement survey. So it asks you to read the document for summer that lists out all the things that we're going to do and the expectations for the course. And then I ask you to upload, sign and upload. Digital signature is fine. You can just type it, sign this agreement, and then upload it as a PDF or as a file. And it's going to be your first quiz. So how my courses work is I have recorded lecture videos. You'll notice this one says spring 21. So this was from just the spring. Some of them will be as old as last spring. Some of them will say fall. I've tried to label all of them as lecture video. You need to watch the video. Notice they're in a page, so you can just click on the go. They're in YouTube, and it's going to go through with you what I talked about the first lecture. Okay, for chapter 1, right? See, it says chapter 1. There, for chapter 1, I've also have PowerPoints that I've constructed. They're not exactly the ones directly from the textbook, so you can open those up and look at them and follow along with the lecture. Then I would recommend that while you're watching the lecture, you have this open and you take your own notes, of course. There is homework to do in Connect. There is homework in module 1 here for chapters 1 and chapter 2. And there is also a virtual lab tour in Connect, because some of our labs we're not going to be able to do, even though we're growing bacteria. Normally, when we are in person, we complete about 21 to 23 microbiology labs in the 16 weeks. We have lab every day, normally, except day 1 when we go over safety. So obviously, in the online environment, we don't have quite as much time to do lab, especially in the summer. And so it's compressed and we don't have enough time to do all the labs. So we've assigned some of these virtual labs. And again, those are also in Connect. So when you click on them, it'll go right to the Connect. You can stop doing the lab in between, like you can start it and then I think come back to it and it'll hold your place. The Connect homeworks are long. And so I would budget a good hour or so to do each of these homeworks. The lecture videos are usually an hour to an hour and 15 minutes, just like we would normally have lecture. Normally we would have lecture twice a week and we would have lab twice a week. Now, this is a great place to remind you, this is summer class. So we are doing 16 weeks, 15 to 16 weeks worth of work in 8 weeks. So what that means is we're basically doing a chapter a day and we are having a lecture quiz every week, if not every other week. right? So you'll notice that our first lecture quiz covers chapters 1 through 5. It will be on May 25th. I always have my quizzes on Tuesdays. We meet on Mondays, gives you a chance to ask any questions. Many other professors set their quizzes and or assignments with due dates as Friday, Sunday, or Monday. So I like to have a little buffer for you so that you can do well on your microbiology assignments by not making them due until Tuesday. As far as the lecture quizzes, the Connect assignments will almost always be due the day before. Right? So the idea is you read the chapter, you do the Connect, you watch the videos, you take the notes, you study, and then all of that is done by the day before, and then you have your quiz on Tuesday. This seems like a lot. I get it for chapters 1 through 5. Be aware, chapter 1 is mostly an introductory chapter. So this is all the things you could learn in microbiology. So there's not a lot of content in chapter 1. Chapter 2 is a review of chemistry. So it's the chemistry that's necessary for biology. You should be well familiar with this by now. You would have covered it in Bio 1. You also would have covered it in Chem 1 and or Chem 2. Chapter 3, we are just doing the 5 I's, and then we are skipping the middle of the chapter and we're jumping right to the microscopy. So it's not the whole chapter. Chapter 4 is probably the most new material for you. It's all about bacteria, and that will probably take the most of your time, chapter 4. And then chapter 5, the whole first half of chapter 5 should be review, because it's about eukaryotic cells and all the organelles that are in cells. And so I'm going to ask those questions as multiple choice questions on the quiz. And then there'll be, maybe for some of you, a new portion of chapter 5 will be about protists and fungus, and a little bit about, I chose to talk about this chapter 5 part 2 here. I chose to talk about the parts of chapter 5 that, this one. So this one's from the fall, but the parts of chapter 5 that you may not have covered in Bio 1, and the parts of chapter 5 that are about organisms that we study in microbiology. So that might be a little bit more in detail or a little bit new information for you. Excuse me, but the beginning part of chapter 5 should all be reviewed from Bio 1. It's basically all the organelles and their structure and function. So much of what comes on this first quiz next week on Tuesday is review. Some of it's new material, particularly parts of chapter 3, all of chapter 4, and maybe parts of chapter 5. So it is going to require you to do about a chapter a day. We need to get through this material so that we can get on to some of the stuff that's a little bit more interesting. I'm going to remove some of these virtual labs. As I set up the course, I realized that's an awful lot of virtual labs in these first 2 weeks. I will probably drop it to just bright field microscopy, making a smear, and maybe gram stain. And I'm going to move these other 3 virtual labs to a little bit later in the semester. Okay, and I'll change their due dates. So if you're thinking about the virtual labs and you're stressing about those a little bit, do the tour. And then definitely microscopy 1, 2, and then making a smear and gram staining. But these guys, I think I'm going to unpublish them right now so that you can't do them. These last 3, I'll move those to a later, closer to when we're doing the actual microscope work with your microscope. So that'll take out a little bit of the work for you. But yes, it is intense and it is go time. Like even today, you have to get your book and start reading and start watching chapter 1 and taking notes. And I would try to do 1 and 2 today to kind of get those out of the way. And then start with chapter 3. Again, there's PowerPoints, there's a video lecture. This is homework. Chapter 4 note outline, PowerPoint, video lecture part 2, and then this is homework. So you'll notice in the first module, I tried to put it as homework in Connect, and I was going to change all of them to say that. However, if I don't type them the exact same way in Connect, it won't link. So I'm going to leave them as they are. Just a reminder about the different icons over here, right? So the paperclip is a file that's going to be a PowerPoint or something for you to read, right? So that's a, sometimes it'll be instructions, right? The Note outlines will be files. Let's see if there's one here for chapter 4, right? There's a note outline. The rocket we already talked about, that's quizzes, things that you have to turn in. A page with the corner turned down is a page. Those are mostly going to be lecture videos for you, or links to videos, external videos. And then of course the page with the pencil, that's work for you to do. That's homework for you to do. Right? You'll notice, of course, those have due dates on them, whereas the lecture video and the paper clips do not. They're open all the time for you to look at and obviously to do, right? So you've got a lot to do before May 25th. You'll notice that I extended the, I think I put chapter 4 and chapter 5, chapter 3. I think I put all the homeworks on the 26th this time, just to give you a little bit of a chance to sort of get oriented. And I realized we'll probably get students adding this class today and maybe even tomorrow. I think you can add up until tomorrow. So I wanted to give people at least one buffer day to get those done, but normally they will be due on the Monday and the quiz is on Tuesday. So let's see on my notes here. All quizzes on Tuesdays, they'll be open all day. So I open them at 12:01 a.m. and they're open until 11:59 p.m. Lecture quiz 3 part 2 is a writing portion, and that will be open all day on Wednesday. So that'll be a 2-day quiz. You'll have the objective portion on Tuesday and then a writing portion on Wednesday. All the Connect homework is due by 11:59 p.m. the Monday before each quiz, except the Connect homework for lecture quiz 1. As I just mentioned, I extended that until Wednesday. That's the only time it'll be due after the quiz. I do want to mention the lab safety quiz, and doing the lab safety is what's going to lock your bacterial cultures labs. So you have to complete this module, the lab safety manual, the video, how to use the microscope, the lab safety quiz, and the microscope quiz, and not turn in your lab report, but these 2 things before you can get into module 2 of the lab. So the lab materials that from the lab kit are all at the bottom. They're the last few modules. So I have lab module 1 is the microscope module. Lab module 2 has the rest of the, I'm going to probably put those virtual labs in there. Some more of those virtual labs in there. These are virtual labs. And then the final exercise 2 through 6 will be due on, not on May 7th. That'll be due, that was still open for people who were turning it in late. That'll be due on July. I wrote that down somewhere. Ugh, if I can find it. No, I can't. That'll be due on the, it's close to the last day of class. Okay. So what else do I need to tell you? It's an 8-week course. I've mentioned that already. It's 2 weeks of work in 1 week. In every week, we have 2 days off, May 21st for Memorial Day and July 5th. So nothing will be due on those days, but I think most of you will find that you'll still have things that you'll want to do on your own on those days. Last day of class is the 13th of July. Anyone who has a makeup quiz to take, if they have an excused absence for the quiz that they missed, that will be on July 14th, and my grades are due on July 20th. So that's sort of at the end of the semester. And then I will be adding office hours. I don't think I have those on the first day handout. I think I had Tuesdays from 11 to 12, and I'm also going to be adding office hours Tuesday evenings from 7 to 8 p.m. Those will be open Zoom rooms. I will send you my personal Zoom room and the passcode, and there'll be recurring meetings, and you can just click on the Zoom icon, and then I think you can just go right to the meeting. Let's see, the lab kits must refrigerate. I told you that. Oh, A couple of things about turning things in, particularly your lab reports and anything like the course agreement survey, for example. If you're working on a Mac, you're going to need to save it as a PDF or a JPEG. I cannot open files that have the extension HEIC. So I can't open Macintosh or Apple files. It will just show a blank page. Please don't make me send you repeated emails asking you to put it in a different format. Do it ahead of time and then add them to your upload. You do need a computer to take this course. You cannot do this course on your phone. You can't do the Canvas quizzes on your phone, and you can't do most of the Connect assignments on your phone. So you do need access to a computer with reliable internet. If you do not have a computer and reliable internet, you can use the computers on campus. And I don't know if the college still has CARES money, but in the fall, they had CARES money that they could use to help students buy computers. So you'll need to contact student services for that. The pace, I already said, is a chapter a day. I would suggest that you read the chapter first, watch the video, the lecture video, take notes, look at any of the PowerPoints or note outlines, obviously, that come with. The note outlines themselves are an outline. You need to add more to them. Complete the Connect homework, complete the labs, and then you need to study. So this course, the quizzes, lecture quizzes are at 45 seconds a question. So you will not have time to look up all your answers. You just don't. This is as if it was a real course in person. So you need to study and be prepared for the exam, just as if we were having the exam in class. I understand 45 seconds, it doesn't seem like very long, and it's not, but it is plenty of time. The industry standard is about 30 seconds to a minute per question. And so I've chosen 45 seconds. Most of the questions are based on Bloom's taxonomy. So about 70% of the test is just knowledge. So you should be able, if you've memorized the material, if you've studied the material, you should just know about 70% of the questions pretty quickly right off the bat. And then that will allow you a little bit of extra time to spend thinking about the higher level questions, right? The analyze questions, the, what else are they called? Analyze, evaluate, and apply type questions. But if you know the knowledge questions, you will have plenty of time. Let's see. If you miss a quiz and you have a valid, I guess we don't really need this anymore. If you miss a quiz and you have a valid reason for missing the quiz, and with documentation, I will schedule one makeup quiz. So it's just one makeup quiz per student per semester in microbiology, and that will be held on the final exam day, which for us is July 14th. My internet went out, my computer stopped working. Those aren't valid excuses, okay? I can't restart a quiz in Canvas, doesn't work like that. You have to have a second attempt. And I'm not going to do that if you tell me your internet did not work. You're aware I can look and see. And if I see that you viewed all the questions, then I know that your internet was working. So I would advise you to work very hard to find a place where you have reliable internet, even if it's Panera or Starbucks, right? Someplace where you can have reliable internet for the whole time period that you are taking the quiz. Something else I wanted to say about the quizzes, but I forgot. So if you have a legitimate excuse, you know, you've got a death in the family, or you were hospitalized, you were in a car accident, whatever, those count as legitimate excuses with documentation, and you will be able to take a makeup test on July 14th. Again, the pace is so quick, so fast in here that if something catastrophic happens, most likely you will be required to take an incomplete or to withdraw from the class and try it again in the fall. Like I said, it's fast, it's a chapter a day. And so if you're out for something for 2 or 3 days, you are going to miss a major portion of the course. And, you know, it's going to be hard to catch up. That's all I'll say about that. We're going to Zoom every Monday at 9, like we are now. I will record those meetings and post them. Usually I just post them as Q&As. They'll say Q&A from the date, and I'll put it in the module. And so if you cannot attend the Zoom, which I realize it's not convenient for everyone and it's not supposed to be synchronous, but if you can't attend the Zoom at 9 a.m. on Mondays, then it will be recorded and it will be posted in the module. Usually takes me most of the day on Monday to get that done. It does require an upload to YouTube, depending on the traffic, and then putting it in a page and uploading it to Canvas, which the beginning of the semester is usually very, very busy, but it's summer, so hopefully it won't be so bad. I am going to have office hours, as I mentioned, Tuesdays from 11 to 12. So you're free to just come and ask questions about the course, about the material, anything you're having trouble with in the lab. And then also Tuesday evenings from 7 to 8 p.m. I'm probably going to hold office hours as well then. And for the office hours portion, if you let me know that you're coming, like at 11:30, I'll hang around. But if I open up the office hour and no one's there by 11:30, usually I'm like, okay, I'll see you guys next week. So just if you're going to attend the office hour, it would help if I knew ahead of time so that I would wait the whole time, because actually I'll probably just leave those open because it is, I think I'm going to put them in my Zoom room. On Zoom, we can only hold a meeting open, like a marked meeting for 1 hour. And but if I do it in my Zoom room, I can hold it open for almost 2. All right, if you have an accommodation letter for time and a half for your quizzes, I need that immediately because the first quiz is next Tuesday. I can't give you a second attempt after the quiz is closed with your accommodation. So if you have an accommodation letter, you need to get that to me as soon as possible. The lecture quiz design, we talked about this a little bit, but if you look in your textbook, you'll see that at the end of each chapter, there are review questions and they're ordered by what is known as Bloom's taxonomy. So this Bloom's taxonomy, I'm just going to give you a real quick overview, right? So this is supposedly how people organize their tests, assessments, right? So the first level of knowledge or understanding, so there's 6 levels total. And the first level, actually now they call it 1 and 2. Those are what we call knowledge and understanding, or remember and understand, right? So we used to call that the knowledge. That means just the stuff that you have to memorize and know. And like I said, that makes up on my test, that makes up about 70% of the test. The next levels, 3, 4, and 5, those are titled apply, analyze, and evaluate. There we go. And these are more complicated questions, right? So just like it sounds, apply what you know to something new, analyze some given data, literally be able to analyze it, and then evaluate, meaning make a decision if the hypothesis the data is presenting, if you're going to accept that hypothesis or reject it. Those are harder questions. Those are what students call the tricky questions, right? That's not to mean that they're purposefully meant to trip you up. Those are the B questions. Those are, if you can answer those, you're going to end up with a B in the class or a B on the test. And then the last level is create. I should say those are the B and A questions. The last level, level 6, is called create. And for our purposes, we're not going to have a lot of that in the assessment portions, except in lab, of course, where I'm going to ask you to draw something, and I expect you to draw what you see. That counts as creating. Studying, making a concept map, that's counted as creating. So creating is more about your personal learning, like how much you have internalized what we've talked about and are able to make something new that's uniquely yours from the material. And again, I'm not going to be using that very frequently on a testing purpose, like in the lecture quizzes, but again, that'll come out a little bit more in the lab assignments. These questions, these levels, 3, 4, and 5, analyze, apply, analyze, and evaluate. Like I said, those are the B and A questions, meaning if you can do those are the ones that are going to get you a better grade. So this level here, remember and understand, the knowledge base, this is a science class, and this is really high level. You have to memorize things, and you just have to. You have to know these things, like pretty much like that. So there is a lot of the course is just this, and then there's a little bit of this and a little bit of that, right? So I wanted to let you know that. And then I was going to run through with you real quickly. Stop this share, and I wanted to run through with you a little bit about the course outline. So let's see if I can get back to this. So this Read Me First document, you'll notice it does not have sort of like a day-by-day schedule on it. I have that here from the 16 weeks. I'm going to compress it and I'll add that later today or tomorrow. So this says office hours Mondays 11 to 12 and Tuesday. That's not right. So that's going to be, we're going to Zoom on Mondays at 9, and then Tuesdays we'll have office hours at 11. I just transposed those, and then again in the evening. The textbook, you've already purchased it. As I said, the lab kit is being provided for you for free from CARES money. So you do not have to purchase it. Lucky you. The first group of students did. It cost $250. So you're going to get those kits when I give you the vouchers. It's really important that you turn in the voucher and actually get the lab kit and do the work. The labs are worth 20% of your grade. So if you don't do them, which a few people elected just not to do any of the lab kit labs last semester, it did really hurt their grade. They ended up usually a whole letter grade lower, at least. Like I said, I did get the voucher codes this morning. I will send them out to you today or tomorrow. The photo atlas is not required. You must have, we already talked about that. Attendance. I will be recording your attendance by visits to our course page in Canvas, not by your attendance to the Zoom meetings. These Zoom meetings are not required, right? But I can see your page views, and I know how often you go into Canvas and sort of what you do when you're there. Okay, and I'm required to report that to the government. So it's important that you participate in the course. Blah, 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 right? Zoom meetings once a week, 9 a.m., blah, blah, blah. Talked about that. Lecture and lab course, the prerequisites Bio 111. I expect that you're able to review material from Bio 111, study this material in order to prepare for exams. You'll notice that I do not have long lectures. There's no lecture for chapter 2 because it's a chemistry review. I don't lecture that chapter in person either. I expect you to read the chapter and review it from the things that you know in Bio 1 and your chemistry. This specifically applies to chapter 2, chapter 5, the first part, chapter 7.1, chapter 8, and most of chapter 9. Chapter 8 is metabolism, which would have been chapters 8, 9, and 10 in Bio 1. And chapter 9 is molecular biology chapter. So that's replicate DNA structure, replication, transcription, translation, mutations. We are going to add a little bit to that, but that basic stuff you should have. Time commitment. It's 4-credit hour lab science course, which is normally 6 hours of instructional time. And you'll notice that correlates pretty much to how many videos that I've posted for, a week, or what we would have normally called a week or 2 weeks. The pace is quick. We're going to be completing, actually not 20 chapters. We're probably going to complete 19 chapters in 8 weeks. So these 6 hours per week do not include your study time and your taking note time and coming to Zoom meeting time and doing pre and post lab work. On average, the course requires 12 to 18 hours plus per week to complete all the assignments, study for the exams. It's like a part-time job. And in the summer, it's really demanding. And so you need to know that up front. I am not going to change any of the assignments or requirements. The course is the course, right? It's the same as it was last semester. It's the same as what I normally do during in person in the summer. I've been using Connect with my students as a supplement to increase their grades, to help their grades for years and years. So I realize it's very time consuming, but I'm trying to force you to do the work so that you'll do well on the exams. I use the module format, right? Each module corresponds to approximately 1 week, except the first module, right? So at the first module, it's the first 2 for the test. Some note outlines, PowerPoint or Zoom meeting, the Connect homework, virtual labs, and the lecture quiz. It's usually at the bottom, as I mentioned. Some modules will have items you have to complete and then submit to me. Each module is self-paced. Students still ask me that. This is not a completely asynchronous course in that the modules are self-paced except for the lecture quiz. Those are only open for the day that they're open. And again, they're always going to be open on a Tuesday from 12:01 a.m. to 11:59 p.m. the end. We talked about those Canvas icons as a reminder. Grading, this is important, right, for most of you. So the lecture quizzes count for 70% of your final grade. There are 7 lecture quizzes scheduled. You have 1 attempt. They are timed. They show 1 question at a time. And again, they're 70% of your grade. You must pass those lecture quizzes to pass the class, right? The total average time is going to range 40 to 60 minutes, depending on how many questions there are, with the time limit of 45 seconds per question, right? So for example, if there are, just open up a quiz, right? I don't have my calculator with me, but they're not 1 minute per question. They're 45 seconds. I already mentioned they're going to open. The question format is mostly objective, except for lecture quiz 3, which has a writing component. I'm expecting you to prepare and study as if the quiz was given in the classroom. Some lecture quizzes will also have a part 2 or a part B that contains short answers. That usually has a longer time limit. I usually give you 10 to 15 minutes per question, and usually there's a selection, and I'll tell you, you have to choose 3 out of the 5, or it will randomly assort and give you 3 out of 15 questions that I have in that bank. If you miss a quiz and do not make arrangements, you'll receive a 0. If you can provide documentation, makeup quiz that carries a 10% penalty on July 14th, 1 makeup per semester. If you miss 2 lecture quizzes or more, you'll only be permitted to take 1. I had some students who didn't understand that last semester. I already said that. Don't cheat. Accommodation letter got to be before the first quiz, which is Tuesday, week from tomorrow. No letter, no accommodation. Okay. Lab is 20% of your grade. It's the virtual labs and the actual labs that you do and turn in your lab reports. There are no makeups for experimental labs because the custom kit you purchased has enough reagents for 1 attempt. That's a little bit untrue. There's usually enough that if you're careful, you can try again. But here's a good place for me to say, if when you receive your kit, you need to inspect it, because any of the media that has broken in transit, you can call Carolina and they will ship you replacements. Okay. Second lab module is locked until you complete the first one. That's because I'm trying to force you to do the lab safety and take the lab safety quiz, do the microscope lab and the microscope quiz, because if you do not, you won't be able to actually use your microscope for the second lab module. The Connect homework is 10% of your final grade. So it's annoying because it takes a long time and some of you don't like to do it, but it actually could improve your grade from a B to an A if you did all the homework, because it doesn't let you finish it until you get 100. So you just keep doing the questions until you get a better score. The better prepared you are, but don't do the Connect first. Don't try to do the homework first. Read the chapter, watch the video, take the notes, read the chapter, then sit down to do the Connect. It will go a lot faster. If you just sit down and try to do the homework and do it really quickly, you're going to be very frustrated because it's an adaptive learning homework. So if you get a question wrong, they're going to ask another question about the same thing, and they're going to keep doing that until you get like 3 of those questions correct so you can move forward. So I have set the time limits on all of these to take less than an hour, but it'll take you longer unless you actually know the answer to each question. So prepare before you sit down to try to do that homework. Okay. After you submit it, you can reopen it and use it for study or practice. I try to keep them about an hour. For some chapters that I've divided them into smaller pieces. Homework assignments have the due date. And then the virtual classroom etiquette, right? Be nice when we're on Zoom. I am treating all of you as if you are students interested in learning about microbiology, even in a really short time, in a really fast, intense format. Oh, wait, I'm gonna sneeze. Excuse me. I expect your emails to be written in clear, complete sentence. It's not texting. Any email that I get that says, hey, professor, I didn't finish that assignment. I have no idea what you're talking about, and I probably won't answer you. Okay, or I'll put you on the last of my priority list. It's not texting, right? I'll try to respond to all your emails within 48 hours. I do take weekends off from email to work on course content and grading. So if you email me Friday night at 11 for the connect something that's due on Monday, you're probably not going to get a response until Monday morning. Okay. You are the only person registered for this class. There are 28 other people in your section and a total of 58 students in the microbiology course, and everyone is equally important. It's not just about you, right? Even though sometimes I found in this virtual environment, everyone, because you don't see the other students, you think it's just about me conversing with you. It's not. There's a lot of people that are involved on this journey altogether. And then don't cheat. Right? Mute your microphones. That's not usually a problem much anymore. I'm going to be recording them. Be patient, right? I'm doing the best I can. I will record them. I usually keep the screen small during the recording, so it's just my face. But the videos are not for children. And so if your kids are in the room, you may not want them to hear some of the things that we're talking about. So that's something for you to keep in mind, right? I usually do not record the question and answers at the end of the session because that shows the students' individual names. And so I will usually turn the recording off during that Q&A session. If a particular question comes up, or is something that I'm like, oh, I really should have said that during the recorded portion, I usually post it as an announcement after the meeting. I'm certainly happy to meet with you individually or a group of you during office hours if there isn't time for us to go over questions during a particular lecture session. Just a reminder, if you're a visiting student, Camden County College, we don't have pluses and minuses. The letter grades are just 90 to 100 is an A, 89 to 80 a B, 79 to 70 a C, 69 to 60 a D, and below 60 an F. And I do not usually curve the grades at the end, mostly because you have this free 10% of your Connect homework. If you do it, it's almost like extra credit. It's 10% of your grade. So I do not usually curve at the end. So don't email me at the end of the semester and say, oh, I had a 78.5. Isn't that really a 79? Isn't that really an 80? Isn't that really a B? Because I'm going to say, no, that's a 78.5, maybe a 79, but a 79 isn't a B, it's a C. So I asked you to sign this, right? It does say a complete tentative schedule will be available May 16th. It is. If you go into the modules, you can see the schedule, and I will add this to this file, which is sort of like a brief week by week, the various chapters that we're going to cover and the labs that I'm going to be expecting you to do virtual and in person. So it'll be a guide, right? Because sometimes, you know, you may start your lab kit as soon as you get it. You may do the lab exercise 1 with the microscopes and then not do the rest of the labs until 2 weeks later. Other people may do the lab kit straight through, which is one more thing that I wanted to tell you. So I want to go back to the module for a minute. And if you take a look here, the lab, the little bit that's challenging about the lab is that you have to plan your schedule of how you're going to do labs 2 through 6. And it does depend on how quickly the bacteria grow. So for some people, you may be able to do it every single day, days 2 through 6. In the fall, when I actually went through and did the lab kit, it took me about 10 days. So I told students to leave about 10 to 14 days to complete all of the parts where you have to actually grow bacteria, and you need to be able to check those bacteria every single day. It's like babysitting. You can't just say, oh, I'm putting these cultures in and I'll check them on Thursday, because they'll be overgrown and you won't be able to use them for your results. So that does take a little planning, and I've given you a planning document. I've also made videos of myself doing the labs. I think this might be from Carolina. No, it's me. So this is me in my upstairs kitchen, because my house was a 2-family, and we still have this kitchen counter back in a closet. So it's actually me doing the lab step by step. So you should watch the videos. And there are also videos from Carolina that I've included all of these at the end. If we look down here to this very last module, this is all the booklets of how to do each of the labs from Carolina. And they have links in them that will link you to a video of someone from Carolina doing the lab as well. And basically, if you follow my directions, you should be able to get through those labs pretty easily. This is the very last day that you can start the labs, which is why I included that as a date, I believe. Yeah, it should be June 21st, but this is the very last day that you can actually start the labs and probably still finish them by the end of the summer session. So bear that in mind. All right, let me double check and see if there's anything else in that. I think that's it. Okay, so I'm going to end the recording.